Hello, hello, hello. There we go. We are live. I can see it. I can see it that we are live. How are we doing? How are we feeling? I'm a bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous because two McLarens lining up next to one another, seeing them so close to one another, especially on a track that, well, like Barcelona, where going down into turn one, anything can happen. It feels like there's just going to be something that happens. You know, we haven't yet seen those two drivers really battling it out yet this season and properly going wheel to wheel. I feel like there's tears that could be incoming. But how are we doing? Sarcastically hopeful. Hello, Damn Dash. Hello, A Guy. How's it going? Timothy. Hello, Freddie. Good night. Going to bed. Fair enough. Vil. How's it going? Slowline. How are we all feeling? Sally's in the chat. Josh is in here as well. Hello. Think I saw Sarah as well. Somewhere in and amongst it, but it just disappeared in front of me. I'm very tense. Very, very tense. I've kind of been thinking about the four cars at the front of the pack going down into turn one over and over and over again. And I've just been sort of playing it. What do I think will happen? How do I think it will happen? Who's going to be where? And every time I play it in my head, one of them gets a little bit out of shape. One of them takes another one for a little ride through the escape road, possibly, or maybe even into a barrier or two. It just feels like that there's going to be something that happens down towards turn one, but we'll get there in a moment. We'll go through the pack momentarily, as there is a little bit of news to go through before we delve into it fully. In case you missed it, Lance Stroll is not going to be taking part in this afternoon's Spanish Grand Prix. He, did I watch Inter get dismantled last night? I did. It was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like PSG, insanity. Like, I've watched a lot of Champions League finals. That one just felt the most demolition job. That last half an hour, ridiculous. Anyway, on to Formula One. Lance Stroll is missing the Spanish Grand Prix. He's been complaining over the last few weekends of pain in his wrists. There is a likelihood that it is linked to his crash, his bicycle crash, I should say, that happened before the start of the 2023 campaign, where he was injured for the practice running and missed the first couple of Grand Prix. No, it got back just in time for the first couple of Grand Prix, didn't he? But was severely injured at the beginning of that season, ended up breaking many a bone in his hands and wrists. They were all kind of bolted back together again. And I hope he's okay. He's been rushed to kind of make sure that that's okay. Going back to specialists, hopefully will be back for the Canadian Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time, but we'll have to wait and see what his recovery looks like. Of course, they do have Drugovich in the background if needed, but Lance Stroll should be back in a couple of weeks' time. Does, though, mean he is missing this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. So after qualifying 14th, obviously he'll be redacted from the grid. Everybody 15th and backwards will gain a position. Such a shame that Drugovich can't take part. That's very, yeah, it's a little bit of a shame, I guess. I think it's more so, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because Drugovich didn't qualify. And we've seen, you know, Carlos Sainz, for instance, last year in Saudi Arabia. If you make the call early enough, you can have a replacement driver take that position. So Ollie Behrman took his place in Saudi Arabia last year. We saw Ollie Behrman actually take the place of Kevin Magnussen a couple of times. But because qualifying had already happened, and because the injury kind of pushed itself to breaking point, I guess, for Lance Stroll, or the pain at least pushed itself to breaking point for Lance Stroll, he decided to withdraw himself after qualifying, which meant, yeah, Felipe Drugovich unable to take his position on the grid. As I say, we might end up seeing Felipe Drugovich in Canada. We'll kind of have to wait and see. Unlikely, though. I think they'll try and get that done And I think Lance Stroll will kind of want to take part in the Canadian Grand Prix, it being his home Grand Prix. But we will have to wait and see. And I'll kind of keep you updated on that. But just so that you realize that there's only one Aston Martin on the grid today and wondering where Lance Stroll is, that's where he is. Lance Stroll's not racing anyway. How long until the race starts? About 23 minutes by my reckoning. But yeah, no Lance Stroll, unfortunately, for any Lance Stroll fans that may be out there. There's not many of them, I imagine, but he gets a little bit of a hard reputation, does Lance Stroll. He gets a lot of negativity, but then on the same sort of end of that, he doesn't help himself a lot of the time. He doesn't really show much personality, does he? Do you think they should give out points during quali? No. I don't personally think so. I think points for the race is absolutely fine. Yeah, I don't think you need to hand out points for qualifying, personally. But that's maybe just because I'm feeling it from a traditional perspective. I just feel like qualifying already has enough emphasis behind it. I don't think you need points for qualifying. I think everybody wants to be on pole position, whether there's points available to the drivers or not. Remember when Stroll came back from injury, performed really well? Secretly cooking something here? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. We've seen what Carlos Sainz came back from appendicitis, performed really well. Alex Albon looks like a brand new man now that he has had his appendix out and driving into this season, by far the best of the rest driver so far this year, Alex Albon. So maybe there's something into it. Maybe you do just need to have an appendix out or your hands strapped back onto your body, and that makes it. 1 point for pole would be nice. I don't know. I think they're trying to take away gimmicky points though, right? That's why they took away the point for fastest lap. So possibly. I know, yeah, other series do have points for various things throughout the weekend. That's a reason to party. I hope they don't rush it. Goodness gracious. Obviously, some not very big Lance Stroll fans in the chat today. Anyhow, let's get into Spain then, because without Lance Stroll, it does shuffle up the grid a little bit. As I say, Lance Stroll did qualify in 14th place. So Ollie Behrman, for instance, Hulkenberg, those guys all shuffle up a position or so. Yuki Tsunoda starts from 19th place instead of 20th. And I don't think it's going to have too big of an impact. I don't think Lance Stroll was absolutely guaranteed to be fighting for the point scoring places or anything like that. But just shuffling those positions one place up maybe does mean that we'll see a little bit of a switch around to do with strategies and various bits and pieces from the back. You never know. You never know what teams are thinking. What's happened to my eye? I got like an infection in my left eye. It is way better than it was like 2 weeks ago. But it's getting there, you know. We'll get there. We'll get there. Shall we go through the grid? Starting at the top then, the two McLaren cars. Currently separated in the Drivers' Championship, that's the one I wanted, by 3 points. Oscar Piastri starts ahead of his teammate. And I don't know, it just feels like there's going to be some drama. It feels like there's going to be something. I don't know whether they're going to come together. I don't know whether they're going to just cause each other a headache and therefore Max Verstappen or George Russell is going to be able to take advantage. I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like something is going to happen. Just because we haven't seen the two of them right next to each other on a track like Spain, where you can make the moves down in towards turn 1, is a very long run down towards turn 1. Anything can happen. We've seen the lead change positions in Spain a good few times when it's come to the opening of the Grand Prix. And I just think that the two guys behind you, if there's someone you don't want in your rear view mirror, it's Max Verstappen, isn't it? So both of the McLaren cars, as much as they just love to focus on one another, like if you're asking Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, you know, who would you like to battle at the front of the grid? I don't think either of them is saying Max Verstappen. Like, they don't want Max Verstappen anywhere near this, but Verstappen is going to be right there just in case something happens. And George, as I was about to say, Sarah, George got the lead from 4th last year. He starts in 4th place again, does George Russell. And we've seen how he likes to go around the outside at turn 1. If he's given that position, if he's given that room, he can be the latest of late breakers. And, Hamilton Rosberg 2016 repeat. I mean, again, that would open the door to Max Verstappen. Are we going to see history repeat itself in a slightly different way? Got to remember, Max Verstappen is 25 points off the championship lead as well. Like, going back to the championship points, 25 points. If Piastri and Norris take themselves out and Verstappen gets the victory of the Grand Prix, which I think would be most likely to happen if there aren't any McLarens in the way of the Red Bull, it does mean Max Verstappen would be back on equal points with Oscar Piastri. 9 races into the season, a season where we've said the McLaren car's by far and away the best. We've said that Red Bull have got their problems. The car doesn't look amazing at Red Bull. Max Verstappen still could be leading the championship or equal points with Oscar Piastri. He won't be leading the championship because Piastri has more wins than him this season, but still equal points with Oscar Piastri going into Canada, the 10th race of the season, would be incredible from Max Verstappen. And it certainly could happen if, as Sarah just mentioned, no, it was Sarah. Was it Sarah? No, it was Vlotex. If Hamilton and Rosberg / now Piastri and Norris find themselves inside of the gravel with one another, whether that's down towards turn 1, whether that's down towards turn 4. I mean, there's a few places that it could happen down towards turn 10. Now that it'll run down there, I feel like there could be a battle between the two. Effectively, this first lap is going to be chaos. Going to be absolute chaos. And then beyond that, it is going to be a very interesting race because we do have the idea of the tyre strategies being a bit weird here. We have got the hardest compound, C1, C2, C3, but we know that Spain is really hard on these tyres. We know that the tyres this year are maybe lasting a bit longer than Pirelli would want, but Spain is a real challenge for that. You look at the tyre stress allocation, it is a 5 out of 5. Lateral as well, 5 out of 5. So it's going to be really tough. And naturally, we should, he says with his fingers crossed, see a 2-stop Grand Prix. Whether we end up actually seeing a 2-stop Grand Prix, we'll have to wait and see. As the drivers rush themselves to the front of the grid. Of course, you have to be there 16 minutes before the race begins. We do have to have the drivers on the grid, so they're just about there. Get some rainy races. I don't think we need rain here. I don't think we need rain. I think it is just going to be absolute chaos, whatever happens, to be honest. I think it's just going to be ridiculous, however this plays out, because there's so many variables and there's so many drivers that are right in the mix. Just that top 4, the fact that they're starting as the top 4, the fact that they're the top 4 in the championship, the fact that they have been the 4 best drivers so far this season, I just think that gives us chaos, you know? We don't know how the race pace is going to be for these cars. Okay, the flexi wings don't seem to have adjusted the order ridiculously in terms of qualifying pace, and over the free practices didn't look like it had too big of an impact on the cars. But you never know. Over a 66-lap race, it's a little bit different, isn't it? And there's just that extra pressure on all of those cars because they know what is available to them. 3 drivers could leave here topping the championship-ish. Verstappen could be equal to Piastri. Piastri could elongate his lead, or Lando Norris could take the lead of the championship. Like, those 3 drivers really in it. And George Russell as well. Like, if there is an issue for Piastri and Norris, Russell's not so far adrift. It kind of equals out the fact that Russell missed out on points in Monaco, maybe, if they can both miss out on points here. But he's not so far adrift that he can't catch up to maybe Max Verstappen. Come on, Oscar. A lot of Oscar love in the chat, actually. Do you think Russell will claim a World Drivers' Championship somewhere in the next 5 years? Depends if he stays at Mercedes, right? There is a lot of talk about his contract situation at Mercedes and whether or not he will stay or go in the foreseeable future, whether Mercedes are trying to talk to the likes of Max Verstappen, or whether Kimi Antonelli will get to the point, a little bit like Piastri is doing to Norris at the moment, where maybe Kimi Antonelli actually just ups his level to the extent where if Mercedes do deliver a championship-worthy car, it's not a George Russell ramping to an easy victory. It is a George Russell versus Kimi Antonelli fight. That is something that could definitely happen. Kimi Antonelli has shown his quality throughout the year so far, and he's only 8 races into his Formula One career. So I don't think it's going to be straightforward for George Russell to win a championship. Could he win one? Most certainly. Will he win one? I don't know, flipping a coin at this point, right? I just don't know how Mercedes is going to do with the new regulations. Mercedes might come out in 2026, might have absolutely ruined their engine and be the least or the slowest car on the entire grid. We'll have to wait and see. Beyond that top 4, though, let's continue down the grid a little bit. Lewis Hamilton does start in 5th place, starting ahead of his teammate as well. And I think a little bit of positive from Lewis Hamilton. He still wasn't glowing in terms of his feelings towards the weekend in Spain, but better from Lewis Hamilton. I think they've kind of resound themselves, Ferrari, now to being like, we are just the 4th fastest team. I think they're fairly comfortable with that, though. I don't think they need to do anything different. They just need to commit, continue, and, you know, the whole 2026 will be our year hype has already begun. So Hamilton there, Antonelli just behind him. Just spoke glowingly of Antonelli's first 8 races. I think this is a big challenge for him. Different kind of circuit. Spain is a very different challenge to any other track that we've had so far, mainly because of the tyres. And we know that that's one of the most difficult things to get right when you do come into Formula One as a rookie, is being able to hold on to the tyres for an entire race duration. Will Kimi Antonelli be able to do that? We'll have to wait and see. I remember Oscar Piastri in his first year had a race like that in Hungary, which I think was the turning point for him, where he just realized couldn't quite get the tyres to go the full distance in Hungary, and that kind of cost him the ability to push on and maybe get a podium or win that race. Can't remember what it was now. But I remember Hungary a couple of years ago was that. Maybe that will be this for Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli in and around some very experienced drivers, in and around Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc, even Gasly behind. The likelihood of it being Antonelli does get overtaken at one point or another because those tyres do start to just grain a little bit more. And he's just got that bit of inexperience when it comes to the tyres. So that would be my expectation of Kimi Antonelli. I'm expecting him to go backwards rather than forwards, not necessarily on raw pace, though. Charles Leclerc starts behind. I think he was a bit upset about the strategy yesterday in qualifying. Couldn't quite hold on to the soft compound or enough soft compound tyres to really run Q3 the way that he would have wanted to. That's why he ended up at the back of that pack. Everybody ahead of him had another fresh set of soft compound tyres. They ended up putting in a better lap at the end of the session. Charles Leclerc ending up 7th place. And then it was that best of the rest group once again. 3 spots available. Gasly, Hadjar, and Alonso took them. Again, like Isaac Hadjar becoming a real stalwart of the top 10 now. I know that Alex Albon has got more points in terms of the Drivers' Championship by a considerable margin. Alex Albon on 42, double everybody else who is part of that midfield to back end of the Formula One grid. So Albon absolutely flying so far this season. But Isaac Hadjar really is starting to put his name in and amongst that discussion, isn't he? And Isaac Hadjar, a 9th place start just behind Pierre Gasly. I think Gasly, slow start to the season for him, slow start to the season for Alpine. So I'm expecting big things from Pierre. I think, again, that little bit of nous with the tyres would be the only thing that maybe just catches Isaac Hadjar out compared to Gasly and Alonso, who are kind of in and around him. Hoping, though, that he's able to pick up points. Alex Albon, though, is the threat behind. Albon starting in 11th place, just missed out on Q3. Alex Albon will be hunting down the points because I think he just wants to keep that momentum, right? And especially if he can manage to get points on a track that really doesn't suit the Williams car. Like Spain is pretty much everything the Williams car absolutely hates. They talked about it at the beginning of the weekend. Carlos Sainz talked about how he got into free practice 1, free practice 2, and the car felt completely different on this style of circuit than what he's been used to so far during his time and Williams. And if Albon can score points here, that is just an absolute line in the sand that Alex Albon is flying. I mean, he's already flying this season, but it would just be a ridiculous performance from Alex Albon if he's able to score points here. Gabriel Bortoleto, his best qualifying so far this season, 12th place. Again, another driver that I really do just want to see score points. We've got Alonso, Colapinto, and Bortoleto on the grid, yet to have scored points so far this season. I'd love to see Fernando Alonso get some points on the board. Bortoleto even more so. The both of them together, what a plane ride home they would have. Remembering, of course, Fernando Alonso is Gabriel Bortoleto's manager. So maybe we'll get to see those two go side by side for the final point scoring place. You know, if you're Gabriel Bortoleto, do you let your boss have that final point scoring position? Or do you go for it and then have to apologize maybe on the plane home that they will have together? Have to wait and see. We're very interested to see if Bortoleto can get side by side with Fernando. Nearly took Fernando out a few races ago. Liam Lawson starts in 13th place. I think Liam Lawson slowly getting back into the swing of things this year. I think after that huge hit to his confidence at the beginning of the season, it's fair that Liam Lawson hasn't been absolutely flying inside of that RB, but he does need to swap at some point. And he needs to be looking at Isaac Hadjar and the performances that Isaac Hadjar has been putting in and start to think about, actually, you know, I'm supposed to be the more experienced driver here. I'm supposed to be the driver that, well, was a Red Bull driver at one point, even if it was only for a couple of races. Ollie Behrman starts behind him, 14th place. Ollie Behrman gaining that position because of Lance Stroll. Again, if you missed the beginning of the stream, Lance Stroll has withdrawn himself from the Grand Prix after an injury, or after continuing to really struggle with an injury to his wrists that he sustained back in 2023. And therefore, Ollie Behrman jumping up to 14th. I think, again, that I'm going to keep saying it, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Behrman. Now, again, that rookiness, the fact that this track is really difficult on the tyres, just needs to be something that we keep an eye on when it comes to Ollie Behrman. Nico Hülkenberg starting 15th. Esteban Ocon starting 16th. Carlos Sainz disappointing. His home Grand Prix, his first home Grand Prix in a Williams, and a 17th place start for him. We'll see what the race pace is like, though, inside of that Williams car. Franco Colapinto starts in 18th place, again, starting to get to grips with things. He was told that this is his first real race. I know that he's been in a couple of Grand Prix so far, but Imola had to get up to speed with everything. It was a little bit last minute that he got put into that seat. By all, well, from what we know anyway. And then last weekend in Monaco's always a bit of a disaster if you don't qualify well, so there was nothing really that Colapinto could do there. Does feel like this is Colapinto's first big opportunity, or first weekend where he really can show what he is worth. Let's see if Colapinto can do it. Sustained an injury in a bike crash. Yes, it is. Yeah, he fell off his bike before the 2023 campaign got underway. If you want to look it up, he was in surgery. It was pretty bad, but managed to. And then finally, Yuki Tsunoda back of the pack. I looked into it. You know, I told you guys yesterday on the stream that Yuki Tsunoda came out and said maybe there was a bit of floor damage to that Red Bull car. They haven't said anything to sort of tick that as a yes, and doesn't feel like there was any massive floor damage to that Red Bull. So Yuki Tsunoda was just the slowest when it came to qualifying yesterday. big pressure on him, I think. You know, looking at the fact that he's in a Red Bull. We saw, what was it, Lewis Hamilton in... I know, I'm thinking of China. It's Yuki Tsunoda starting from the back of the pack and in a quick car, has the experience over those drivers that we talked about beforehand in terms of tires. I think Yuki Tsunoda should be aiming for points here. I think he still has the pace to be able to do so, because Spain as a Grand Prix is usually one of those Grand Prix where you sort of end up with the drivers in the right order, if that makes sense, or the right order in terms of race pace. You can't really fluke a result in Spain, if that kind of makes sense. I don't know if I'm using the right words. But yeah, Tsunoda certainly will be looking at the point scoring places and needs to show that he's got at least race pace in the car, even if the qualifying pace isn't getting there yet. Because he can do overtakes here. Overtakes are possible in Spain. Couple of big DRS zones that he can manipulate and use. They ran a different setup with the larger rear wing, apparently. Ooh, that's interesting. Hadn't seen that. Thank you for that. I think it's just... I mean, Yuki Tsunoda is on a different setup to Max Verstappen. He is running the old floor compared to Max Verstappen's new floor, but that's only because he crashed in Imola and damaged his one. So you can only blame Yuki Tsunoda for that as well. And I know it doesn't... You know, we have to sort of look at each race weekend as its own individual thing. But looking at this triple header, the reason that Yuki Tsunoda might have been so far off Max Verstappen is because he is running a different setup. The floor, though, apparently is only worth about a tenth or two. So even with that, Yuki Tsunoda would have still been a good chunk of pace off of the top drivers. And still a good chunk off of getting through to Q2. Which again is what, the second time in 3 races that Yuki Tsunoda's been at the back of the pack and dropped out in Q1. So I think I'd keep an eye on Yuki Tsunoda, but I think there's going to be a lot of pressure there to deliver. Yuki should be out of that seat already. That's a bit harsh. Apparently changed Yuki's suspension. Yes. Yeah. Well, they had they changed quite a bit of Yuki Tsunoda's car because of that huge crash that they had in Imola. So they're kind of piecing bits back together again, and Yuki Tsunoda doesn't quite have the exact setup of Max Verstappen, but that comes with damage, right? You damage your own car, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, unfortunately, and that is the way that it's run out for Yuki Tsunoda. However, we are only a couple of minutes away. The formation lap is set to get underway soon. Let me just load up the last couple of bits and pieces. Here we are. It's going to be so weird only having 19 drivers on the grid. Just a blank grey space at the bottom there that would have been taken up, would have been taken up by Yuki Tsunoda technically, but Lance Stroll not taking part. And if we could hit the like button and the subscribe button, maybe, you know, if you're enjoying yourself, if you're here for a long time, not just a good time, hit that subscribe button. We are live every single Grand Prix weekend. And more Formula One content to come. I know it's been a little bit sparse over the last few weeks. But I was editing something this morning, so it is coming back. When does it start? We are, well, less than a minute away. We are just waiting for the final confirmation of drivers being all set. The tyre blankets are coming off. The mechanics are heading to the edge of the track so they can get out of the way of the cars to start the formation lap. Then, of course, the rush back in to make sure that you are not on the starting grid when Oscar Piastri manages to get all the way around the 14 corners of this Barcelona circuit. Oh. And actually, the stream is a little bit ahead of me in real life, so I'm just going to adjust that slightly. There we go. They are away. A lot of drivers starting on the soft compound tyre, expecting this to be a 2-stop race, possibly soft, medium, soft, or soft, medium, hard. Yuki Tsunoda going against the grain, starting on the medium compound tyre. And the formation lap is underway. Oscar Piastri leading the pack once again. Had never been on pole position before the start of this season, remember, and is now leading the championship and will lead the Spanish Grand Prix. If only for a little while. Down towards turn 1, we know it is going to be tight. Norris, Verstappen, Russell will all be looking at the rear wing of Oscar Piastri's car. Max Verstappen, of course, having won back-to-back-to-back Spanish Grand Prix in 22, 23, and 24. We'll be looking to continue that. And Oscar Piastri slowing it down a touch. Round turn 13 he comes. In fact, I'm just going to do one final little adjustment from my end. So it's going to freeze just for a moment on the formation lap. Apologies, but it will come back in a second. There we go. Sounds worrying for Stroll. Sounds like he injured himself badly. Yeah, he did. Well, it was a big injury, but it was a couple of seasons ago. Just seems to be like a reoccurring thing. Every now and then, his wrists continue to just be causing him a bit of a problem. And therefore, decided that needs to back out of this Grand Prix after being very in a lot of pain yesterday. Piastri takes to the front of the grid, though. Norris, Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Antonelli, Leclerc, Gasly, Hadjar, and Alonso, our drivers starting. Ooh, and Yuki Tsunoda is peeled into the pit lane. I didn't know Yuki Tsunoda was starting from the pit lane. Did I miss that? Here we go then. Eyes focused on the starting lights. It's such a long run down towards turn 1. I'm so nervous. Here we go then. We are away. Oscar Piastri gets away really well. Max Verstappen is side by side with Lando Norris straight away. And Max Verstappen is causing Lando Norris a mischief because he's got George Russell down the inside as well. But Verstappen's going to go around the outside of Norris and Verstappen gets up into P2. George Russell's gone a little bit wide and opened the door to Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton has taken the position from Russell as well. Russell down into 5th. Leclerc gets ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Gasly, Hadjar, and Alonso stay where they were. Bortoletto is up into 11th place. Alex Albon with a poor start. He's dropped down. Isaac Hadjar is having a little look at Pierre Gasly and he gets there. Charles Leclerc also around the outside of Kimi Antonelli moves up into 5th place. Both of the Mercedes falling backwards and George Russell also allowing the door to be opened and Leclerc gets past both of the Mercedes now. So Leclerc up into 5th place. Oh my goodness me. Piastri leads. Verstappen got round the outside of Lando Norris and Norris had to concede. Norris down to 3rd. Hamilton and Leclerc, both Ferraris having an incredible start. Isaac Hadjar having a little battle with Fernando Alonso but keeps himself in 9th place. Gasly, Hadjar and Alonso still where they were, but they've shuffled around a good few times on this first lap. And they come round to start the second lap of the Grand Prix. Piastri still leading. George Russell has a little look at the back of Charles Leclerc. Here comes Nico Hülkenberg on Fernando Alonso, and Alonso has to give up the position. Hülkenberg up 5 places since the start of this Grand Prix, but here comes Fernando Alonso back at him again. And Fernando Alonso around the outside of the Stake Sauber car gets up into 10th. It is going to be back and forth though. Hülkenberg back up the inside of him, and Hülkenberg's back up into 10th. Fernando Alonso though not giving up this position. They're going to follow side by side all the way through this middle part of the lap. Fernando Alonso right under the rear wing of Nico Hülkenberg as they come through turn 7 and turn 8. Round the really fast turn 9, there's another DRS zone down towards turn 10 that Fernando Alonso can use. Will he be able to get underneath Nico Hülkenberg? He decides against it this time. Hülkenberg managing to hold on to that 10th place for now. Piastri, though, is disappearing into the distance. He is now set... Oh, no, Max Verstappen, sorry, sets the fastest lap so far. I was expecting that to be Piastri, but Verstappen is 0.2 of a second quicker and is right underneath the rear wing of Piastri, and Verstappen is not holding back. He nearly goes for a move down towards turn 1 again. Lando Norris, though, is already 2 seconds adrift of the front two. Hamilton has fallen off the back of Norris as well, so there's no real DRS trains developing. George Russell is the first driver inside of DRS outside of this battle at the front that we've got between Piastri and Norris. And then Gasly, Hadjar, Hülkenberg, Alonso all causing themselves a little bit of a headache. Gabriel Bortoleto holding on to that group as well. It's very tight for those final point-scoring places as Piastri, Verstappen and Norris are still trying to escape away, as are guaranteed top 3. Hamilton and Leclerc just settling in behind, knowing that they have got both drivers there. And George Russell is not happy at all about moving under braking. George Russell complaining there on the radio. Toto Wolff, though, says, George, get your head down. We need to get back those couple of positions that we've now lost. Started 4th, of course, George Russell, now down into 6th place. Kimi Antonelli also down a position. The Ferraris, the gainers at the beginning of this Grand Prix, as well as Max Verstappen getting back to 2nd place and stays there this time. Piastri does turn up the heat, though. Piastri a 1:19.8 and fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. Isaac Hadjar has a little look at Pierre Gasly into turn 1, but not able to make the move this time. The Frenchman sits behind... Well, the other Frenchman sits behind each other. Piastri, though, just escaping away now. Piastri finding that time, especially in this first sector, getting away from Verstappen. Verstappen now outside of DRS range of the race leader. Looking very good if you're an Oscar Piastri fan for now. Still a long way to go. 4 laps completed of the 66 laps of this Spanish Grand Prix circuit. Lando Norris has also maybe decided to slot in behind Max Verstappen, get outside of the dirty air. He's just sitting at 1.5 seconds adrift of Max Verstappen now. Verstappen's dropping to 2 seconds behind Piastri. Here they come then to start lap 4 of the Grand Prix, or sorry, lap 5 of the Grand Prix. Piastri, Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Russell, Antonelli, Gasly, Hadjar, and Hülkenberg still our top 10. Hülkenberg, though, DRS wide open. Is he going to have a little look at Isaac Hadjar? Not this time. Hadjar also had the DRS to Pierre Gasly behind. That gaggle of 3 really looking like it could get very racy indeed. Fernando Alonso has just fallen, still within DRS range, but fallen adrift a touch of that top 3 in terms of looking for maneuvers. And it was a really nice move from Charles Leclerc, actually. Leclerc did very well to get Antonelli, and Hamilton also racing with Russell. Russell tried to get up the inside. Lando Norris, though, was defending from Max, so Norris just had all eyes on the Red Bull. George Russell realizing that 3 cars into 1 corner doesn't really make too much sense. So Russell had to back out of it. That just allowed Lewis Hamilton round the outside as well into turn 1. And Lando Norris knows that he can't really afford to be bullied by Max Verstappen, but also that he can't afford to lose all the points altogether if it was a collision between the two. And Verstappen and Norris were DNFs. Piastri went on to win this race. It would be absolutely devastating for the championship. It was a very, very tidy move from Lewis Hamilton, though, round the outside of George Russell as Russell had to back out. I mean, just going to not talk about Hulkenberg's monster start. I mean, it is ridiculous. Hulkenberg up 5 positions. Haven't seen the onboard of it yet, though. Was just looking at the onboard of Lewis Hamilton's overtake. Here we go. Here's Nico Hulkenberg's start. And I think he just realizes that everybody is getting a little bit out of shape. Oh, there is a bit of a touch. And actually, Hulkenberg gets hit as well. Gabriel Bortoleto has to take to the escape road. I think it's a collision between Albon on the left. Albon got a really slow start. He was miles off the pace, was Alex Albon. And yeah, there is the damage to Alex Albon's front wing. It's looking slightly worse for wear. And not so rigid on the front of the Williams car. Still in 14th place, though, Alex Albon. It was a disaster start from Albon. They just kind of opened the door. Liam Lawson collided with Hulkenberg, and I think another driver on the right. Don't know who it would have been, though. Would it have been Fernando Alonso, possibly? And Albon has got the box call. Albon box. And that start is actually getting investigated, involving Nico Hulkenberg for leaving the racetrack and gaining an advantage. That was when he escaped. He went to the escape road at the beginning of the Grand Prix. And that might be why he gained those 5 positions at the start of the race. Absolutely flew past some of those guys. But they've reviewed it, leaving the track and gaining an advantage, and no further action. So Nico Hulkenberg's maybe got away with one there, depending on how you see it. But he is up into the point scoring places and is amongst that group of 4. Gasly, Hadjar, Hulkenberg and Alonso all within DRS range. Lando Norris is being given the go-ahead to push on these tyres. We want to try and get ahead of Verstappen. So Lando Norris is now on a push. Can he close the gap to Verstappen? 1.3 seconds, the current gap. Let's have a look at the lap times. Max Verstappen a 120.7. Lando Norris a 120.8. So not quite yet from Lando Norris. But let's wait and see. Charles Leclerc has also gained pretty dramatically on Lewis Hamilton in all of this. Will the Ferrari cars be given the go-ahead to swap? Charles Leclerc is right underneath the Ferrari's rear wing of Lewis Hamilton, though. Does make you wonder what they're saying on the radio to one another. Surely Charles Leclerc is asking to be moved in front of his teammate. Let's have a little look. Yeah, the team has to do it. There's nothing on the radio that I can see yet between Leclerc and the team, but surely there must be some discussions going on down at Ferrari, because they will not want these tyres to be burning up behind his teammate. Fred Vasseur looking at it on the pit wall. The man at Ferrari having to deal with 2 very, very competitive drivers in their car this year. Lando Norris closed the gap by a 10th or 2. And here goes Charles Leclerc. He's going to try and overtake Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 1. So the discussions are being raced between the two of you. Nothing doing at the moment. Have a little go, did Charles Leclerc. Hamilton is holding up his teammate pretty substantially. And here comes Yuki Tsunoda, it has to be. Ollie Behrman has also pitted as well. A little bit earlier than I was expecting for Yuki Tsunoda, especially considering he started on the medium tyre. Possibly the pace inside of that medium tyre not there for Yuki Tsunoda. onto the soft compound tyre he goes. Of course, Yuki Tsunoda, a good few pairs of soft compound tyres available to him after not making it through to Q2 yesterday. Hamilton surely has to be told to swap positions at this point. Charles Leclerc right underneath the rear wing again, and George Russell is now gaining on the back of these two. Russell closing that gap, and Hamilton has been told now swap positions with Leclerc. Seems like a couple of laps too late, in my opinion. That is the thing with the Ferrari strategy, isn't it? It always just feels that little bit too late. Looking at the lap times again, Lando Norris was a couple attempts quicker than Verstappen and is now within a second of the Dutchman. Let's see if Hamilton and Leclerc do swap positions then. Leclerc gaining and gaining down towards turn 1, and the Ferraris do indeed swap going through turn 2 and turn 3. That releases Leclerc then 6 seconds off the top 3 though. It's going to have to be some insane pace from the Monegasque if he's going to really trouble anyone in the top 3. Nico Hülkenberg, I grimaced there a little bit. Nico Hülkenberg felt like he was coming in a little bit hot into the pit lane, but that might have just been from my perspective. Hülkenberg's pitted. Carlos Sainz is also in as well. And an adjustment to the front wing of Carlos Sainz also from the Williams team means that he has a slow stop and will come out of the back of the pack. So Albon and Sainz, now the final 2 drivers. Albon underneath the rear wing of Yuki Tsunoda in all of this. Tsunoda in the Red Bull, of course. Behrman, Hülkenberg ahead. All have now stopped once. Colapinto in 14th place. The only driver, or the last driver, sorry, yet to have stopped. Everybody else going that little bit longer on the first stint. Hülkenberg and Behrman opting for medium compound tyres. Tsunoda, Albon and Sainz all on the softs. Here comes Pierre Gasly then from inside of the top 10. And we're starting to see the drivers maybe covering one another off. Gasly thinking about Hülkenberg being there, coming in early. Trying to cover off Nico Hülkenberg, get out ahead of the German. Here comes Hülkenberg around turn 14. Gasly is making his way out of the pits right now. It's going to be actually pretty close, and Hülkenberg is going to be side by side with Pierre Gasly, carrying a lot more speed down towards turn 1, though. Here comes Nico Hülkenberg. Can he go around the outside? Not quite. Gasly gets just about in front of Nico Hülkenberg there, and that's why Gasly pitted. Cover off that undercut from Nico Hülkenberg, and now Gasly has a nice bit of clean air to his teammate in front as long as he can keep Nico Hülkenberg behind. The German driver not happy to be sitting behind Pierre Gasly, has a little look once again as they go through the middle sector, and it's going to be a pretty tight battle, it feels like, for those final point scoring places. Isaac Hadjar has continued on. Fernando Alonso as well. Gabriel Bortoleto now up into 10th place also. Max Verstappen on the radio complaining about those tyres, and you can see why. Lando Norris is indeed closing in, and since getting inside of a second and gaining that DRS advantage on Verstappen, has chunked away the tenths of a second and is now right next to Max Verstappen as they go down the pit straight. Lando Norris looking to move back into second place and gaining on his... Oh my goodness me. Williams will strike back. Goodness. I think it's just it's a bad circuit for Williams, and it's gone from bad to worse as they both seem to have got themselves into a little bit of a bump at the beginning of the race. Albon and Sainz running in 18th and 19th place. Have they pitted compared to the rest of the pack? It was slow pit stops from both of the Williams cars, though. Max Verstappen under pressure from Lando Norris once more. They're coming around the final couple of corners now, taking 13 and 14. Lando Norris is going to be right under the rear wing of Verstappen. He's going to have the DRS advantage as well to the 4-time world champion ahead of him. Max Verstappen fighting for a 5th championship in a row. Lando Norris looking to try and overtake his teammate for his first championship, but is able to get up alongside Verstappen, and the move's done before they even get down towards turn 1. Lando Norris up into second place once again, where he started the Grand Prix, lost that position to Max Verstappen at turn 1, and Norris back up then 4.5 seconds, the gap to his teammate ahead. Piastri has been still setting better lap times, a 121.0 from Piastri, a 121.4 from Lando Norris, but Norris was stuck behind Verstappen. Let's see what Lando Norris can do. Now he's in a little bit of clean air. We're now seeing Liam Lawson has made a move on Gabriel Bortoleto. Lawson now up into 10th place as we were watching Red Bull get overtaken. We're seeing Racing Bulls moving up. And it looks like Fernando Alonso is going to peel into the pits. No. Where is Alonso? Why has he just lost a couple of places? What happened to Fernando Alonso there? Has just dropped behind Lawson and Bortoleto. Is it a mistake from Fernando Alonso, or is he going slowly? Surely Fernando Alonso can't have another technical problem. Oh, no, he's just completely locked up and put himself in the gravel, Fernando Alonso. Big lockup from Fernando. Went into the gravel, and that's where Lawson and Bortoleto were able to get past Fernando Alonso. That is very disappointing from Fernando, the most experienced driver in Formula 1 history, and a big mistake from the Aston Martin man. Max Verstappen does pit, though, and Verstappen is now down into 8th place between the two RBs. Verstappen wanting some fresh rubber, as we're seeing Esteban Ocon having a little look at Fernando Alonso now. Orlando Alonso must have done some damage to the underside of that Aston Martin car in the gravel, and it just feels like it is inevitable that Fernando Alonso is once again going to miss out on points after starting in the point-scoring places, because Esteban Ocon is causing Fernando Alonso a big headache at the moment. It's already disappeared. Bortoleto and Lawson have disappeared into the distance. Goodness me. Let's have a little look at Max Verstappen's pace now that he's on a fresh set of boots. Looking at that gap after pit stop. Predicted gap after pit stop, 0.3 of a second. But Verstappen is going quickly, and maybe Verstappen will be able to get the jump on Lando Norris here. If Lando Norris were to pit, would he come out back behind Max Verstappen again is the real question. Fernando Alonso is cursed. It does feel like that, doesn't it? I mean, that was his mistake, unless there was a technical problem. Felt like he just went way too deep, locked up the front left tyre, and then sent his car into the gravel as Colapinto pits. So we are now seeing a little bit of a switch in strategy from some of these guys. Gasly and Hülkenberg have pitted, who were running inside of the point scoring places earlier. They're now down in 13th and 14th. Max Verstappen, the only front runner to have pitted so far. Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Hamilton continuing on as they were. Charles Leclerc is still 7.5 seconds off the back of Lando Norris, but has been able to escape away from Hamilton. So it does feel like that swap from Ferrari was the right idea. Hamilton now 4 seconds off the pace of his teammate. Verstappen battling with Hadjar. Don't think Hadjar's going to put too much of a battle up there. Verstappen up the inside of Isaac Hadjar, and Hadjar realizes that he's not really fighting Verstappen this time around. Verstappen, though, does come across the line to set a 119.6, which was a second and a 0.3 quicker than Lando Norris. So over a second quicker than the two McLaren cars right now. Have Red Bull have a little idea that has managed to get them. And here comes Fernando Alonso into the pits. New set of tyres for Fernando Alonso. Mediums look to be going on. And where is Alonso going to come out in all of this? I think he might even be behind the Williamses. Yeah, he is. Sainz and Colapinto make their way past. So Alonso is now going to be running dead last after that pit stop. And Fernando Alonso, remember, started inside of the points. Just absolutely cannot catch a break. Carlos Sainz, his fellow Spaniard, also under pressure from Franco Colapinto. Colapinto gaining on the back of Carlos. We could have both of our Spanish drivers running 18th and 19th in a moment if Franco Colapinto can get the move done. Here comes Lewis Hamilton into the pits. He's had enough of those tyres. Hamilton says on the radio, it's a long way to go. Maybe trying to get the undercut done, realizing that the pace that, for instance, Max Verstappen is showing at the moment is just ridiculous. Hamilton is going to come out in front of Bortoleto, I think. So it's going to have a little bit of a gap to run into. Still got Liam Lawson 5 seconds or so ahead. So hopefully we'll catch up to the back of the Racing Bull fairly quickly. Charles Leclerc on the radio is being told to full push. So those drivers towards the top end do look like they are going to have to come in fairly soon and are using up their tyres now whilst they've still got a little bit of life left in them. Piastri coming around the final corner. 49 laps left to go for Piastri, still leading this race. Lando Norris 4.5 seconds behind his teammate. We'll be able to see him, though, down that front straight. Charles Leclerc, I think, peeling into the pits, and does. Leclerc pits from third place. George Russell doesn't cover him. Max Verstappen has just dispatched Kimi Antonelli. So Verstappen back up into fifth. Now fourth as he goes past Charles Leclerc in the pits. And Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson continue on. The RBs not covering off the rest of the pack. Bortoleto still hasn't pitted as well. And Esteban Ocon going very long of those drivers in the middle of the group we have today. Oscar Piastri, couple of tenths of a second quicker than Lando Norris last lap. Does make you wonder what they're thinking inside of the McLaren garage. Do they go for the one-stop strategy? It would be a very long way to go and tricky, but we do know they have the advantage on those tyres. Max Verstappen is going still 0.6 of a second quicker than Piastri that last lap, even with a bit of traffic and having to deal with getting past Kimi Antonelli. So George Russell is next up in the queue for Verstappen. Verstappen gaining on him pretty swiftly as well. Hamilton on the radio. Why did you pull me in so early? And Hamilton says, protecting from the undercut from behind. Well, both of the Mercedes cars were going very long, so I don't think they needed to worry about the undercut from the two Mercedes behind, but Hamilton is in nonetheless, and not a lot they can do about it. Piastri, Norris, Russell are top three. Still yet to have pitted. Verstappen, though, inside of DRS range of George Russell in fourth spot, has stopped. We're looking at that gap to the front. Oh, as we've got Liam Lawson coming in. Thought it might be Isaac Hadjar, but Hadjar not yet there. Hadjar going a little bit longer. So we've got Piastri, Norris, Russell, Antonelli, Hadjar, Bortoleto and Ocon yet to have stopped. It's going to be a little bit tight, this race, it feels. Especially if some of those cars are going for the one-stop strategy, because you're seeing the fresh rubber, especially for Verstappen, is absolutely working. Max Verstappen dispatches George Russell, moves himself up into the podium places once again. And Verstappen is back to where he started. He is still 21 seconds off the lead, but more specifically, he is 16.2 seconds off Lando Norris. So if Norris does pit, he will come out a good chunk of time behind Max Verstappen. Fernando Alonso gets round Franco Colapinto and then Carlos Sainz, seeing a replay of that. So Fernando Alonso back on the pace of it, hopefully. DRS being used by the Spaniard and getting ahead of the other Spaniard up into 17th place Isaac Hadjar has dropped a place. Oh, Isaac Hadjar's pitted. That's why. Where's Isaac Hadjar going to come out? I think he's going to lose out pretty substantially here, Isaac Hadjar. Ollie Behrman's just coming down there. Is he going to get ahead of the Haas? It's going to be pretty damn close. No, I think Ollie Behrman is able to get around the outside of Isaac Hadjar. He is able to get around the outside of Isaac Hadjar. So Hadjar is down into 12th place. Unless he's going for the one-stop strategy, and he's going to be able to make it well. Actually, comes right back at Ollie Behrman. Scratch that. Back up into 11th place for Isaac Hadjar. Needed to get that move done. Esteban Ocon and Nico Hülkenberg are next up. Oh, my goodness me. And Oscar Piastri is being told lap 25. Lap 25 would be a very long first stretch. Even Oscar Piastri is saying on the radio that is going to be pretty difficult to manage. So 121.1 last time around for Oscar. 121.5 from Norris. Russell has pitted behind. So we are starting to see the drivers commit now. So it's Ocon and Antonelli who have yet to have pitted outside of the two McLarens. Max Verstappen now 14 seconds off the back of Lando Norris. Again, is nearly a second or over a second and a half quicker than Lando Norris last lap. Those fresh tyres making so much of a difference to Max Verstappen's car, but he knows he's probably going to have to make up 20 seconds because looks like the McLarens are going for the one stop. Lando Norris, box. The call comes. Ocon pits ahead as well. Ocon in and out. Ocon's going to be right at the back of this pack as Oscar Piastri makes his way past, and Lando Norris is in. Lando Norris in before his teammate Oscar Piastri, and is going to be behind Max Verstappen. Kimi Antonelli still yet to have come in. Will get out ahead of Antonelli, though, by the looks of things. Nice slick stop from the McLaren garage. Max Verstappen moves back up into second place, but Lando Norris now on the fresher tyres of the two. It's going to be very tight indeed. Kimi Antonelli did pit behind, so Norris didn't have to worry about him. Charles Leclerc too far adrift to really cause any kind of headache. Antonelli in, stops onto the medium tyre for him, and back out once more. Nice stop from Kimi Antonelli, 2.5 seconds. Gasly, Hülkenberg, and Hadjar are about to come down the pit lane, though. Gasly has definitely got position. Will Antonelli get out in front of Hülkenberg? Yes, just about. Antonelli does come out in 8th place. Gasly, though, stopped 14 laps ago. So Antonelli should have more than enough pace to dispatch the Alpine and get back up into that top 7 once again where he started. Oh my goodness. And here comes Oscar Piastri then. Let's see what kind of undercut they had. Verstappen was very quick indeed over the last couple of laps. Verstappen is going to surely get ahead. Piastri is not going to get out ahead of Verstappen here by a long shot. Piastri shuffles into second place. Here comes Lando Norris as well. And I think that's cost Piastri a little bit of time there. Where's the gap to Norris? Oh, okay, Norris is actually a little bit further back than I thought. Hasn't cost him too much to his teammate, but has meant Max Verstappen is now leading this Grand Prix. Verstappen on the two-stop strategy, though. I think it would be impressive if the McLarens managed to one-stop this from here, but I've seen longer stints on tyres. George Russell has just set the fastest lap of the race so far. 2 seconds off the back of Lewis Hamilton. Isaac Hadjar has now caught up to the back of Hülkenberg as well. 10 laps fresher, medium tyres. The Frenchman staring at the back of the Stakes Albert. Max on a two-stop? Yeah, surely has to be from this point. He's still on the soft. Oh, no, he has to be because he went soft onto softs. So, yes. Isaac Hadjar chasing down Nico Hülkenberg in front. And Antonelli still actually behind Gasly. Thought we'd get that done a little bit sooner, but he's going to make it count now, surely, down in towards turn 10. No, the Italian can't get by. The Alpine stays ahead for now. I'd imagine down to turn 1, though, with those tyres being so much fresher on Antonelli's car. It'll be a fairly swift move, but this lap has cost Antonelli. He's stuck in the dirty air of Pierre Gasly. George Russell, a good chunk of time ahead of his teammate. 12 seconds the gap between Russell and Antonelli at this point. Max hoping for a safety car? Quite possibly. Yeah, playing that gamble. Going on to the soft compound tyre, even though he would still only be... I suppose it would back him up, wouldn't it? So I'm just thinking where Charles Leclerc is. So even if Max Verstappen pitted, he would come out behind Charles Leclerc at this point. Charles Leclerc is going quicker as well. A 119.4 from Leclerc, a 120.1 from Verstappen. So I'm imagining that those lines are going to converge fairly soon. Max Verstappen either needs another pit stop or to get a little bit of a move on. Everybody has now pitted, but there is such a different strategy mix that actually we could end up seeing everybody shuffle around a little bit more before the end of this race. And Albon is saying, Liam just pushed me off. Albon versus Lawson. Albon is still ahead at the moment. 13th place. Fernando Alonso is chomping at the bit, trying to get past both of these. After that mistake cost him the position. Fernando Alonso battling back up towards the points. But Lawson inside of the DRS range. And Yuki Tsunoda is pitting again. Tsunoda pitting for the second time already in this race. And here, oh! And I think Liam Lawson has clipped the front wing of Alex Albon. I think the move was done, though. I think that was Albon's fault. I'd like to see the onboard, but Liam Lawson was round the outside. Albon's front wing is broken again at turn 1. It is not the day to be Alex Albon. And front wing damage confirmed. I mean, we saw it flying across the track. Albon is going to have to come in. Let's have a little look from this. From Liam Lawson's perspective, felt like he peeled to the inside, got the position. It's kind of his corner. Oh, sorry, that's a replay from a lap or so ago. Is this this lap? So Lawson up the inside, has the position. Albon doesn't back out, goes to the escape route. And then round the outside this time. And again, Liam Lawson has the position for me. I think Albon does have to back out of that. Liam Lawson is so far ahead around the outside because it is the rear right tyre of Liam Lawson's car that clips the front wing of Alex Albon. So Alex Albon, front wing damage once more. Have they got a third front wing for Alex Albon's car? We'll have to wait and see if they make another swap when he next stops. Not a good day to be a Williams? Absolutely not. Tsunoda, yeah, all the way at the back. The only driver to have stopped twice. He's on softs again, is Tsunoda. I know he started on the mediums, but he's not going to go to the end of the race. 40 laps left to play out. He's not going to go to the end on those soft compound tyres as Yuki. So Tsunoda on a 3-stop strategy. Seems a little bit chaotic. And Albon is going to box to retire the car. So that is going to be it for Alex Albon. We don't get to know whether they had another front wing or not, because they're just going to call it a day inside of the tie side of the garage. It's very tight, isn't it? Isaac Hadjar. Oh, there's a little replay of Isaac Hadjar moving ahead of Pierre Gasly in this. Hadjar back up into 8th place as we were looking at Alex Albon coming into the pits. Isaac Hadjar was actually having a lovely little battle with Pierre Gasly through turns 5 and turn 6. Oh, and Hadjar moves up into 8th place on the fresher tyres as well. Hadjar looking very good indeed in 8th place at the moment. The Frenchman taking on the other Frenchman. Gasly now down into 9th. Hulkenberg into 10th place as it stands. Behrman is in 11th right now. Liam Lawson, after that contact with Albon, has continued on. Has left Fernando Alonso a little bit. Fernando now 2 seconds adrift. It's a very tight race indeed. All the way through the grid, really. Verstappen still leading. 3.5 seconds the gap to Piastri. But Piastri was nearly a second quicker last time. Piastri gaining on the current race leader. Verstappen, 14 laps done on those soft compound tyres. The mediums, the next step. Verstappen on the radio. Can't brake. Have no turn in low speed. So Verstappen starting to struggle. And the two McLarens know that they can close that gap. Thank you, Scott Hadley, for the super chat. Says, come on, Max. Brackets, rage pay. I don't think Max Verstappen is completely out of this. He is on obviously a very different strategy. Just needs a little bit more, does Max now, because the problem that he's going to have is if Hamilton and Leclerc can get to within 20 seconds of him, then it's a real headache for Max, because not only does he have to go for it in the final stint and find the lap times to be able to close up to the back of the two McLarens again, he also has to then deal with the two Ferraris. So it could be real bad if Verstappen does fall behind the two Ferrari cars. The gap now to Leclerc, 12 seconds, and doesn't feel like that's going to get any bigger. So Verstappen's got a bit of a headache there with Leclerc. Might be okay with Hamilton. 22 seconds to Hamilton. It's going to be tight for Verstappen. And Alex Albon has finally come into the pits and retired his car. So Tsunoda jumps up into 18th place. Albon out of the Grand Prix. And here comes Yuki Tsunoda, actually. Taking that. Oh, and Verstappen has pitted. Verstappen has pitted. Maybe realizing what we've just realized, in that he is going to come out in and around where Lewis Hamilton is. And if he stayed out any longer, he might actually lose position to Lewis Hamilton. So Piastri goes back into the lead of this Grand Prix. Where is Hamilton? Hamilton's just coming around the final corner. Verstappen has been let go. This is going to be pretty tight between the two of them. Lewis Hamilton got his foot planted. Verstappen's going to come out of the pits. They're going to come out very close to one another. And Verstappen is just about going to get it done in front of Lewis Hamilton at turn 1. My goodness me. I think Red Bull nailing that. If they'd have left that one more lap, Max would have been behind Lewis Hamilton. And then it's just another driver to have to deal with. But Verstappen, second stop is done. 37 laps left to go. And Norris being given the indication that they're going to stick with it. They're not going to worry about what Max is doing. They did only stop 8 laps ago, did Piastri and Norris. So we're going to follow Max Verstappen's lap times and see what he can do. He's 18 seconds off the lead, is Verstappen. Just got Ilwai's Albon out. Collided at turn 1, broke his front wing, and then of the entire race, and then also just had a coming together with Liam Lawson. So he is, unfortunately, just been in the wars as that Williams car, and too much for them to want to continue Hamilton now under pressure from George Russell. We were worrying if Hamilton would get ahead of Verstappen in this, but actually Hamilton now looking at George Russell behind, getting to within DRS range. Hamilton on the radio, struggling with the rear end of the car, no grip inside of it. Hamilton was 0.7 of a second slower than George Russell last lap, so if Russell can get inside of that DRS range, he is going to have the kind of pace required to get in front of the Ferrari. Slightly fresher tyres on George Russell's car, but not too much. Oh! Liam Lawson and Ollie Bearman have just nearly had a coming together into turn one as well. Liam Lawson is getting his elbows out today by the looks of things. Bearman goes to the escape road at turn one, goes round the bollard at turn two, kept the position, did Ollie Bearman, so he's 11th. My goodness me, everybody is having a little fight down in towards turn one. Those point-scoring places they know are up for grabs. Hadjar, Hulkenberg and Gasly currently holding on to them, but Bearman in 11th place, Lawson in 12th. Here's the replay of it. Ollie Bearman is ahead of the RB. Liam Lawson dives up the inside. There's a touch between the two. It's the front left of Liam Lawson and the rear right tyre of Ollie Bearman that come together. Luckily, they're both able to continue. Ollie Bearman takes to the escape road, keeps the position ahead of the RB. That could have been a big crash, and Ollie Bearman does a great job to actually catch the slide of that Haas car. So Ollie Bearman keeps himself in it, but they're back again. Here they are down in towards turn one. Lawson has another look, tries to go to the outside this time. Bearman closes the door though. Bearman has to move to the outside and close that gap. Gasly is into the pits once again. It is all really changing around in that middle pack from 8th place down to sort of 12th, where Fernando Alonso currently sits, and Gasly was in that mix as well before he pitted. It is all going on. Yuki Tsunoda down in 16th has just managed to get ahead of Gasly, so Gasly is going to have that bit of space to run into. But Lawson is having a bumper car of a time today, currently running in 11th place. So we've got Piastri catching up to the back of Colapinto. Colapinto running last of everybody at the moment. And Max Verstappen is not very happy with his clutch at the moment. Just feels like as he's upshifting, the clutch isn't doing what he wants it to do. He's still going a lot quicker than the rest. Max Verstappen at 118.4 last time around, compared to Leclerc in the 120s, Norris in the 120s as well. So Max Verstappen, at the moment for anyway, is absolutely doing the lap times that he needs to be doing. Gabriel Bortoleto down in 14th place at this moment in time. But again, there's so many strategies yet to play out. It's more looking at the lap times of the drivers at the moment, because we've got some drivers who are on a 3-stop, some who are on a maybe even a 4-stop with Yuki Tsunoda at this point. And then we're looking at 2-stop strategies from the guys currently running at the front. Feels like Piastri and Norris staying on that 2-stop. Norris is still 4.5 seconds adrift of his teammate. Was 0.4 of a second quicker than Piastri last time around, but even so, Lando Norris not looking like he is going to be able to close in on Piastri's lead, especially as they're getting towards some traffic now. Piastri has been able to get in front of Colapinto, so that headache for for Lando Norris still to come. Max Verstappen on the radio again. 33 laps complete. 33 remaining is what he's been told. Halfway point indeed. And all to play for. So Max Verstappen, or at least GP, saying that should be on for a good run in towards the flag, and a possibility at a victory still there for the Dutchman. Gabriel Bortoleto and Carlos Sainz also now getting into it with one another. So we've got Bearman and Lawson, we've got Bortoleto and Sainz. Everybody's having a little bite at one another. Yuki Tsunoda closing into the back of Ocon, but Ocon is within DRS range of sight. And Verstappen will be in our race, is what Lando Norris is told over the radio. Lando Norris seeing that Verstappen is only, 6 seconds adrift? So Norris seeing Verstappen 6 seconds off, and Verstappen continuing to chunk seconds out of him every single lap. Last time around, Verstappen a 118.9, Lando Norris a 119. Can they get that home? I think Max Verstappen will have to pit again. Unless they decide that they don't want to pit again, and maybe they can hold on just enough. It's going to be very tight indeed. Here comes Max Verstappen on Charles Leclerc. Is he going to be able to dispatch the Ferrari? Yes. So Verstappen now ahead of Charles Leclerc, and all of the lines of conversion. I'll show you the race trace if I can. Nope, that is not going to work. Okay. The race trace is a little bit crazy. I'm looking at Max Verstappen closing in on the two cars in front. The gap to the leader just being chunked away every single lap from Verstappen at this point. He's getting very tight indeed. I can't call this yet. I can't call this yet. Whether Verstappen, Norris, or Piastri is on the best strategy at the moment, it is going to be super tight. Here comes Ollie Bearman into the pits after battling with Liam Lawson for long enough, deciding that fresh rubber is the call for Bearman. 27 laps completed on those mediums, and another set of mediums go on. So that will likely be Ollie Bearman's final stop of the race. Oof, my goodness me. Max Verstappen is currently lapping Colapinto just in the shot. So Bearman comes out ahead of Verstappen, just behind the race leaders, Piastri and Norris. Piastri and Norris have made their way through a little bit of the traffic, but are now on the back of Gasly. And this is what's playing a little bit into Max Verstappen's hands, is the cars behind, or the cars in front, sorry, Piastri and Norris have had to deal with a lot more traffic than Verstappen. Verstappen has had to now deal with Colapinto as well, and is actually catching to the back of Ollie Bearman, but Bearman will be moved out of the way fairly swiftly. Piastri has just moved past Gasly. Lando Norris has just put in a lot nicer time. And George Russell is also being given the go-ahead to push. George Russell was a second behind Hamilton. Maybe Hamilton just stepping on the gas a little bit. But Max Verstappen is the driver we're watching as likely to be within striking range of Lando Norris in the next 6 laps. That is the kind of lap times that Max Verstappen is putting in consistently at this point. Ollie Bearman's still in front of him, though, and that's the problem for Verstappen now. Ollie Bearman coming out in that place. Just a bit of a headache. Carlos Sainz making a move on Franco Colapinto up into 17th as well inside the Williams. The fight not yet done for those two, fighting away for 17th place. Kimi Antonelli coming across the start-finish line. He's in 7th. And a comfortable 7th. It's going to be a little bit of a boring end to the race for Kimi Antonelli, but everybody else is right in the mix. Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, any of those three could still win this Grand Prix. Norris has come to life in the last few races. Oh, lap time deleted for track limits for Kimi Antonelli. Maybe not. Kimi Antonelli managed to get himself a penalty. Oh, actually, he's still 7 seconds ahead of Isaac Hadjar, so should be all right. It's very tight indeed at the top. Charles Leclerc also in this mix, not necessarily out of it. Only 4 seconds off the back of Verstappen. Should be a comfortable 4th place finish for Charles Leclerc either way, though. Lewis Hamilton in 5th. Couple of seconds off George Russell. Russell was closing that in, but Russell not able to get right underneath the Ferrari for now. Antonelli then, as we talked about, in 7th all by himself. Isaac Hadjar has carved out a very nice 8th place for himself at the moment too. On a different strategy to some of the rest though. Hulkenberg in 9th, Lawson in 10th. The RBs look like they might have done the business. Alonso and Bortoletto just outside of the point scoring places. Tsunoda is up into 13th place, but he's on the soft compound tyre, so Tsunoda will have to stop again. Although a lot of the cars in front of Tsunoda will have to stop again also, so maybe Tsunoda can knock on the door of the points. Just looking at the gap between Lawson and Tsunoda is 10 seconds. So Tsunoda does need to really put in some lap times. Still almost half the race to go though, so not impossible for Tsunoda to do it. Let's have a look. Piastri a 119.9. Norris a 119.4. So it's another half a second. And Norris is really starting to get this lead away from Piastri. Still a long way to go. And Norris is just starting to turn up the heat, it feels. Piastri lacking half a second or so. Oof. And Max Verstappen, even with a 119.6, but Verstappen now in this little gaggle of traffic. All the cars sort of stumbling over one another at this point. Piastri and Norris now behind Esteban Ocon. So Gasly, Behrman, Sainz and Colapinto have all been lapped by those front three. Piastri just being quick enough to get in front of Ocon, just about. Oh, Verstappen. And Max Verstappen on the radio is being told they realise the threat now. So they are pushing on. And Verstappen having to continue to just try and keep his pace where it is. They have got slightly fresher tyres on that Red Bull after 2 stops. Verstappen has been able to hammer away, it has to be said, at Piastri and Norris's lap times as they've been fighting through the traffic. And here comes Charles Leclerc. Leclerc is into the pits. Leclerc shuffles in. It's a nice stop from the Ferrari team. 2.3 seconds stop. Very nice stop from the Ferrari team. Just looking at Hamilton and Russell making their way past. I don't think Kimi Antonelli is going to have quite enough. So Charles Leclerc is going to have a lovely bit of open space. And as we're talking about, you know, Piastri and Norris and Verstappen really struggling to fight through the back of the pack and get through the back markers. Lando now getting past Ocon as I say that. Charles Leclerc is going to have a lovely little bit of road to run into. And again, Charles Leclerc might come into this race, especially if Leclerc's lap times now can be that bit quicker than the 2 McLaren cars ahead, because he wasn't too far off. It's 12 seconds down on the lead, I think, Charles Leclerc. It's not impossible to make that kind of undercut work. Okay, yeah, the McLarens will have the better car and the better lap times at the end, but Leclerc would be right in the mix and can cause the McLaren team at least a couple of headaches. It's going to be very tight indeed. Piastri and Norris have now caught up to the back of Yuki Tsunoda. Norris still 2.5 seconds adrift. Piastri was that little bit quicker than Norris last lap as Norris was having to deal with Esteban Ocon. Hamilton still in 4th place, 24 seconds off the lead and still 2 seconds ahead of Russell as Russell now pits. So Russell deciding that those tyres are not going to be good enough to catch the back of Lewis Hamilton, needs a fresh set. And he's come on. Where is he going to come out, though? George Russell. There goes Colapinto. I think he'll just about get in front of Hadjar, which is good. Colapinto is a back marker, so won't be too much of an issue. And then the next car up is Kimi Antonelli. So Russell now, couple of seconds needs to make up so that Lewis Hamilton will come out behind him. So Russell going for the undercut on Lewis Hamilton. Here we go then. Will it work? Chasing down his teammate, but really looking at Lewis Hamilton's car in fourth spot at the moment. Charles Leclerc will gain that position back once his teammate pits, but will George Russell? Here we go. Oh, there's still too many possibilities until everybody gets their final pit stop in, especially if there's a safety car now. It will completely ruin the running order. It's been a threat of a couple of safety cars. We nearly got one as Albon collided with Lawson. Behrman and Lawson also collided. Just a few millimeters another way, and one of those two could have been sent barreling into the gravel or the barriers, and then we're looking at a safety car. So it's not impossible that a safety car could come out through the end of this race. We've got 24 laps left to play out. Piastri, Norris, and Verstappen look like the three that will be battling it out for the victory. Charles Leclerc also in the mix for a possible podium if he can get the lap times in now. It was a 119.3 from Leclerc last time around. As you can see, is a second quicker than Oscar Piastri's lap time. Not completely done for Charles Leclerc in this. Possible podium place certainly on the line, especially if Piastri, Norris, and Verstappen start to tumble over one another towards the end of the race. Hamilton running in fourth, Antonelli running in sixth, slightly out of position for where they really are. Russell has stopped. Hadjar still running in eighth place and making it look comfortable. Now nearly 10 seconds ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Just have to bow down to Isaac Hadjar once again, who has again been best of the rest by a considerable margin. Isaac Hadjar, just whatever he needs to do, seems to be able to deliver it in that RB car at the moment. Nico Hülkenberg down in ninth place. Would be nice to see him get some more points on the board for Stake Sauber. However, it did feel like this season might just be completely pointless for him. Liam Lawson in 10th place on his run after coming back to the second Red Bull team after being dropped from that second Red Bull seat. Bortoletto yet to score points this season, running in 11th as it stands. Lando just doesn't have it. He is starting to fall away a touch now. He was 2.5 seconds adrift from Piastri. It's now jumped back up to 3 seconds as Piastri has got back into a little bit of clean air. The problem is they've just been dealing with so many back markers. Verstappen's making his way past Tsunoda right now. Tsunoda slowing down to let his teammate by comfortably. But Norris is having to deal with Bortoletto. Piastri's finally got himself into an actual little bit of clean air. Piastri a chunk ahead of Liam Lawson here. But it's going to be awkward because even when Piastri and Norris and Verstappen pit, they're still going to come out in and amongst a little bit of traffic, likely to be back markers, all fighting for position. Hadjar's definitely the best rookie of the season, no question about it. See, people were debating this. Obviously, when Antonelli got that pole position in Miami, felt like that had kind of pushed him into the lead. But you know what? After the last 3 races, I think you might be right. I know that pole position in Miami stands for a lot for Kimi Antonelli, but Hadjar has had another 3 brilliant Grand Prix. And it just feels like he is spot on every single race at the moment. 1 hour left. Oh, no, that doesn't necessarily mean that the race is going to run an hour. So every race has a stop clock. So, for instance, if there's like a red flag or a safety car or anything else like that, the race can come to an end when that timer hits the end, hits 0. But it's likely that we'll get 21 laps done before the hour mark comes up. Unless there is something mad that happens. Yuki Tsunoda pits once again. Tsunoda on his 4-stop strategy. Or is that his third? No, that is a fourth stop, right, Tsunoda? No, third. Third stop. Third stop for Tsunoda. Max Verstappen is about managing his tyres now. Is about a tenth of a second off the pace of Lando Norris. Piastri has just gone a second quicker than his teammate. So Piastri now coming to life once more. 4.7 seconds now the gap. Was down to 2.5, remember, between Piastri and Norris. Piastri has just turned the screw. And a lot of back and forth between these. And there's a bit of movement down at Red Bull. Are Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team going to go again for the third stop before they manage to get in front of Gabriel Bortoleto? No, not by the looks of things. Oscar pulling up now with clear road. That does seem to be the case, doesn't it? Piastri was just hoping for a little bit of clean air in front of him. He's got it. Isaac Hadjar is the next driver up and is at turn 8, where Piastri is only at turn 4. Hulkenberg has pitted and come out behind Gabriel Bortoleto. So Hulkenberg is looking very good for points as well. Hadjar and Hulkenberg really have run the midfield here today as Hamilton comes into the pits as well. Hamilton is in. Russell then is going to get the jump on Hamilton. Yeah, Russell by a good margin, actually. And Antonelli, I think, is going to get past Hamilton too. Hamilton with some work to do then at the end of this Grand Prix. Russell and Antonelli have been able to get the jump on him by getting that undercut. Antonelli, though, will have to stop again, surely, but I don't think George Russell will. Russell, 5 laps on those soft compound tyres. And Bortoleto has been told to swap positions with Hulkenberg. That's a little bit of a shame. Unlikely to see Bortoleto get his first points on the board, but Nico Hulkenberg almost guaranteed now to be in those final point scoring positions inside of the top 10. Bortoleto does let his teammate past. Gasly is up into 11th place and on 15-lap-old tyres to 27-lap-old for Bortoleto. Ollie Behrman, though, is causing Pierre Gasly a little bit of a headache down towards turn 1. So 10th place is not yet guaranteed for anybody. Bortoleto going long. Gasly and Behrman just behind. Lawson is on a fresh set of soft compound tyres too. And here we go. Max Verstappen is going to get out just between his teammate. Oh my goodness me. And Yuki Tsunoda's going to have to get out of the way, surely, if Max does indeed. Verstappen pits, and Verstappen, third place, 31 seconds off the lead. Let's see what Verstappen can do then. Piastri and Norris surely will have to stop again. Are they just going to go all the way? The one-stop strategy for Piastri and Norris? Surely not. Are they going to cover it? Lando Norris is the one really at risk here from Verstappen. The McLaren garage, there looks to be movement. Lando Norris surely is going to come in, and does. Lando Norris covering off Max Verstappen. Let's see what kind of lap time it was from Verstappen. Needs to be electric if he's going to close that gap. But it does mean that Verstappen versus Norris might be the battle at the end of this Grand Prix. Verstappen on softs. It looks like mediums for Lando Norris there. Lando Norris watching all of those back markers that he had to deal with go past him once again. Here comes Verstappen. Lando Norris is going to be clear of him, though. And it's going to be not too bad for Lando Norris. 1.8 seconds the gap as they come through the first couple of corners. So Verstappen, this is his chance. Are we going to see Max Verstappen close to within DRS range of Lando Norris? Because this is going to be his one real opportunity, it has to be said. Oh, no, it was soft compound tyres, sorry, for Lando Norris in that stop. Isaac Hadjar has decided to stop as well for his second stop. Oscar Piastri also getting the box. So these are the final pit stops playing into place. Piastri seems to be a big winner here. Getting into that clean air just in time has really helped Oscar Piastri properly push on. And Piastri looks set for the victory, but Verstappen versus Norris is the battle that we're watching. Norris has got Carlos Sainz to deal with in front of him. So Carlos Sainz is going to have to move out of the way of these two runners. Sainz running in 15th place at the moment. Sainz doesn't get out of the way through turn 13, though. So Norris is going to have a little bit of a tow from Carlos. If anything, Carlos doing his old McLaren teammate a little bit of a favour here, giving him a little bit of a tow down the back straight, helping him defend from Max Verstappen. I think Lando Norris will thank Carlos Sainz for that later. Gets the DRS and a bit of a tow, even though Max Verstappen sets the fastest lap of the race. Lando Norris able to keep Verstappen at bay. Verstappen's not going to be very happy about that. Carlos Sainz really did play a little bit of a puzzle piece in all of that. And Oscar Piastri has done very well indeed, although now is behind a lot of traffic again. This is the problem with the strategy that the McLarens have gone for. Piastri now has to deal with all of that traffic again. He's come out just behind Fernando Alonso on the track. Of course, is a lap ahead of Fernando Alonso effectively, but will now have to get ahead of him again. Lawson, Behrman, Gasly, Bortoleto all in a big train in front of him. And all fighting for position is the thing. That final point scoring place, even though Isaac Hadjar has disappeared off into the distance, Nico Hülkenberg isn't a mile ahead of his teammate as Bortoleto does then pit. So it's Gasly who moves up into that final point scoring position. But as I say, Behrman and Lawson are right there with them. Lawson on the soft compound tyre as well. This could be in Lawson's hands if he can get the move done on Behrman, but Behrman isn't going to allow that. It's going to be so tight for that final point scoring place. Gasly, Behrman, Lawson all in it. Bortoleto pits and comes out 17th place. Bortoleto kind of playing a little bit of a team game there to help Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg will thank his teammate for the help, and Hülkenberg looking pretty much set for a point scoring place in 9th, is on fresher tyres than the three guys behind. Hadjar, Antonelli also in no man's land. Antonelli 7th, Hadjar 8th. Hamilton's kind of all on his own as well at the moment until gains to the back of Russell. Russell ahead of him by 9.7 seconds. Hamilton was a second quicker than Russell last time around. Needs to keep going at that pace, does Lewis Hamilton. Russell on soft compound tyres as well, so I think Hamilton might have really lost out to George Russell here. Hamilton's going to need a bit of a miracle. Charles Leclerc basically guaranteed 4th. Didn't quite play into Leclerc's hands. And here comes Lawson. Oh, and Lawson and Behrman having a little fight once again. And Behrman has to go to the escape road as Lando Norris is trying to make his way through this traffic. And that could have got really ugly. Max Verstappen also gets past the RB. Lawson realizing that he needs to get outside of Max Verstappen's way. George Russell. Oh, my goodness me. And Ollie Behrman is also now causing a headache for Verstappen. Verstappen waves his hand at Ollie Behrman. Get out of the way. Verstappen knows that he needs to stay within touching distance of Lando Norris, but they are having to deal with this traffic, and that's what I was talking about. They dealt with it once. They're now dealing with it again, and it's kind of really messing with Verstappen's possibility of catching up to the back of Norris. Norris is 3 seconds off the lead as well because Piastri's having to deal with the cars in front of him. He's all going on. It's not quite played out yet. And Verstappen with some choice language for the guys in front of him. Verstappen not very happy at all with the drivers in front of him. Goodness me. Lando Norris will also likely not be overly happy. Now caught up to the back of Gasly as they start another lap again. And Behrman versus Lawson is still continuing on. Lawson is not giving up this final point scoring place. And Lawson does get that position. And Fernando Alonso, being opportunistic, has also got around the outside. And Ollie Behrman, as quick as he thought about it, drops a couple of positions. So Behrman down into 13th. Liam Lawson now up into 11th. 2.5 seconds off Gasly. Gasly on the medium tyre. Lawson has now got to get his head down. He's got 14 laps left to go, and that final point scoring place is up for grabs. Lando Norris and Verstappen now making their way past the Frenchman in front of Liam Lawson. Keep an eye on Liam Lawson's lap times compared to Pierre Gasly here then. Alonso also not giving up on it yet. Hülkenberg and Hadjar have done so well to get themselves out of this absolute scrap because Piastri is only just coming up on the back of Hülkenberg. And Verstappen not very happy at all with Ollie Behrman. But unfortunately, they have to make their way through the back markers somehow. But Ollie Behrman was still fighting for position. And Behrman had to really duck out of it. Again, there's nearly contact. I think there might have even been contact between Lawson and Behrman, and then Fernando Alonso realizing that Behrman comes out of turn 2 a little bit slow because of his battle with Lawson. Opportunistic has to be the word that Fernando Alonso uses there. And we are still 13 laps from the end. There is still a few battles to play out here. It's not done and dusted by any means. If you are enjoying the stream, if you could hit the like button, that'd be absolutely amazing. If you're not subscribed to the channel too, we do these live streams every single Grand Prix weekend, along with general Formula 1 content throughout the week. Ollie Behrman is actually going to be... incident involving Behrman and Lawson leaving the track and gaining an advantage. It's now going to be under investigation. Been quite a few investigations on those little bumps and bruises that the midfield pack have given one another throughout the race, but no penalties given as of yet. You can see Ollie Behrman and in particular Liam Lawson has just been investigated constantly. Liam Lawson really fighting for his positions today. Is that 10 different investigations that Ollie Behrman has had? Goodness me. Half the grid are already getting lapped. Yeah, it has really played into, well, just the fact that Piastri, Norris and Verstappen in particular have just had so much more tyres than everybody else. They've been able to hold onto their tyres way better. Oh, and there's Antonelli. Antonelli's gone wide and Antonelli is out. He's gone off the track, not quite into the barriers. Can he reverse that car or is he beached himself into the gravel? And that is a safety car. Safety car is called. And there's a twist in the tail. Just as it was looking like Piastri might get it done. Antonelli has sent himself too deep into turn 10 and has now dropped out of the race. So Antonelli, who was running 7th, Hülkenberg and Hadjar will be rubbing their hands together. They've gained another position. But Hadjar and Hülkenberg are now also going to have the likes of Gasly, Lawson and Alonso to deal with. Gasly is going to be kicking himself because Gasly is on the medium tyre, 22-lap old medium tyre. Piastri decides to pit. Piastri in then for a fresh set of tyres, and they're trying to double stack. Oh, and it wasn't a great stop from Piastri, which meant Lando Norris had to come to a stop a little bit early. Lando Norris is still going to get out ahead of Verstappen, though, and does indeed. So all 3 of the front runners in. I think Russell has come in as well. Everybody taking the opportunity to pit for some fresh rubber. Behrman's in, Alonso's in, Tsunoda's in, Leclerc's in. And everybody's going to have to wait because obviously they're going to catch up to the back of the safety car. And then once that happens, the back markers are going to unlap themselves. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of unlapping to be done. So we might only get a few laps of racing here. Hopefully 6 or 7. I would say a bit of a optimistic view. Fresh rubber for Russell and Hamilton as well. And Verstappen, yeah, on the hard compound tyre and has come on the radio and said, why on earth are we on the hard? Piastri and Norris on some slightly scrubbed softs from qualifying yesterday. And hard compound tyre, the only option, GP tells Max. I think that's kind of killed Max's ability to battle. And in fact, it's actually going to open the door to Charles Leclerc for a possible podium place, because Charles Leclerc has got a set of softs that he can run. Oof. Oh, and it's another breakdown for Kimi Antonelli. Big puff of smoke out of the back of the Mercedes. So twice in 3 Grand Prix, Kimi Antonelli's car has just completely given up the ghost. That Mercedes car's reliability is dropping like a fly. It is ridiculous. Imola, he had a similar kind of thing, had to come to a stop. Lucky that it cut out when he'd already slowed down considerably, because if that had cut out earlier on in that straight, down towards turn 10, he was rattling down there, hit the braking point, and then the car gave up as he started to turn in. Wow. Antonelli then out of the Grand Prix, was running in 7th, joins Alex Albon in the garage, and Hamilton up into 6th. Hadjar gains the most into 7th place. Hülkenberg as well will be very happy indeed. Carlos Sainz pits a little bit late, in my opinion. But Piastri has now caught the safety car. 10 laps left to go. Still need to get those cars unlapped. Can we get them unlapped now? Are we allowed to do that a little bit sooner? No, Antonelli's car is still in the gravel. Good. Let's get Antonelli's car going. Come on. Quick, quick, quick. Piastri will now be looking in his rear wing mirrors at Lando Norris. Oh, is this going to be it? Is this going to be it? I said I had a feeling that the 2 McLaren cars were going to have a little bit of a tussle today. It didn't happen down towards turn 1 because Lando Norris got a little bit of a slow start and actually had to battle with Max Verstappen. Is this going to be it now? Don't do it, lads. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Nico Hülkenberg pits from 8th place. Is he still going to come out fine? Oh, yeah, because Hülkenberg isn't lapped, so that's all good. Gasly's there behind. Gasly pitted as well. That's going to actually cost Lawson a little bit. Lawson wasn't able to pit. Ocon wasn't able to pit. So, Bortoleto, if you're a Brazilian fan, Bortoleto not looking too bad for a possible points finish if he can get the jump on Esteban Ocon pretty swiftly at the restart. Oh, my goodness me. And I'm worried about Max Verstappen on the hards. I'm really worried about Max Verstappen on the hards, actually. I think Leclerc and Hamilton, Leclerc and Russell will be looking at that and thinking, is the hard compound tyre really what you want after a safety car restart? Having to wait until the back of the pack catch up. Isaac Hadjar just coming around turn 14. And some of those guys unlapping from the back of the pack. Russell slowed down considerably there on the pit straight. 9 laps left to go. As I said, my optimistic approach was I think we're going to have 6 laps of racing. 6 laps of racing. Because Gasly and Hülkenberg have still got to catch up. Then we've got to unlap everybody. We do have to unlap everybody. Remember, Michael Massey, we do have to unlap everybody. And then we will be back to racing where we go. Oh, it's going to be so tight. I'm so worried. Do not say McLaren double DNF in the chat. Absolutely not. I'm panicking. It's not even happened yet. I'm just sat in suspense. Yeah, we got another couple of laps behind the safety car here, though. Just for us to really contemplate our lives. And why on earth we've decided this sport is the one that we want to watch. It is so tense. I hate it. Why am I doing this to myself? Max has got his handful here. Hard tyres is not an easy one. Hard tyres compared to soft on a safety car restart when the tyres are cold. There you go. Laps cars may now overtake. Laps cars may now overtake. We were waiting for that to come through from race control. There it is at the top of your screens, just above the track map. So lap cars can overtake. 30, 31. Oh, there was a list. It's gone. 30, 31, 5, 14, 87, 22, 55, and 43. So a lot of back markers to overtake. There goes Colapinto, who is the last of them. So we do now have everybody on the right lap. So we might only get one more lap of safety car. It's going to be close. Oh, thank you, GameStar, for another super chat. If you do want to support the channel, remember, you can become a member of the channel by hitting the member button down below if you're subscribed. And we do have a post-race members show. So if you want to join us after the race as we watch the podium ceremony. Oh, I'm so tired. I just, we want to watch the podium ceremony with us and also talk about what on earth is going to happen here for these last 6 laps after the Grand Prix is finished. It's a really nice sort of laid-back, fun chat after the fact, but you do have to become a member to do so. But thank you, GameStar, for the super chat as well. They do massively help out the channel. Piastri and Norris on used softs, Max on new hards. Interesting choices. Well, by the sounds of it, Max being told on the radio by GP that it was the only choice they had. So they might not have had any more softs, because remember, Max has done an additional stop compared to everybody else. Max has done 4 stops. So is Yuki Tsunoda, by the way. The Red Bull's going all in on the pit stops today. Can't rule out Max just yet. It's demanding on tyres, but I just don't know if there's going to be enough for those softs to really go off. And Max has got a bit of a nightmare on his hands to heat them up. So it could go one way, and Max could end up winning this race by picking the hards. I don't think so, because I think that the soft compound is the better choice. And then the other flip side, Max is going to be under a lot of pressure from Leclerc and Russell behind. It's also not made it easy for the likes of Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson on 17-lap-old soft compound tyres. Esteban Ocon also on mediums. Gabriel Bortoletto's on softs behind. Finish under the safety car. I mean, that would get rid of my heart arrhythmia that I think is sort of coming my way. Have I called this perfectly? I think I've, I think we're going to have 6 laps of racing. I should be the bloody race director. I'm very pleased with that. Liam Lawson's just covered around lap 13 and 14. So Lawson has to catch up to the back of Gasly. But I think the safety car could come in this lap, depending on how slow the safety car comes through this middle part of the lap. So we might get 5 laps of racing, actually. But it's going to be close. So Verstappen on the hards. Safety car in this lap. There you go. Called it. 6 laps of racing. Safety car is ending. Safety car is ending. If that's not worth subscribing to, the fact that I perfectly called that safety car, I don't know what is. That's the kind of insight that you get. Trying to get the safety car to slow down a little bit. I think allowing Liam Lawson to catch up to the back of Gasly, because they know that final point scoring place is going to be well at play with Liam Lawson there. So Lawson does deserve to have a little bit of a DRS or possible tow from Gasly in front. Lawson has caught up to Gasly. Safety car is ending, so safety car is back to full speed because the back markers have caught up. And now Piastri really slowed it down at turn 10. Piastri very much at an absolute crawl around turn 10 and turn 11. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Where do you go? Come on, Oscar. Come on, Oscar. Green flag, track clear. Piastri's gone at turn 13 as well. So he's gone fairly early as Piastri, and I think he's managed to escape away from Lando Norris just enough. It's going to be really tight down towards turn 1, though. And Max Verstappen's under pressure from Leclerc. And this is what I meant. The hard tyre wasn't going to be warm enough. And Max Verstappen's all over it. Leclerc is going to get into the podium places. Russell's also having a look at Verstappen. This is massively detrimental to Max Verstappen, who's gone wide at turn 2 and has gone to the outside. And Russell is going to have a little look at that, I think. Lawson has also been under pressure. Bortoletto trying to get up in place. Hadjar has done really well. Oh, no, Hadjar's lost a place to Hulkenberg. Hadjar's dropped to Hulkenberg. Hadjar ahead of Gasly still, though. Alonso now fighting with Ocon. Oh, my goodness me. And Verstappen. Ooh. And Verstappen now on the radio claiming that Russell needs a penalty maybe. Verstappen, though, under pressure from George Russell. And this is the thing. Those hard compound tyres not warm. And Verstappen's still not really able to get them up to temperature. Leclerc is up into the podium places. And Leclerc's going to get one. And Verstappen saying, Charles rammed into me on the straight. Rammed into me on the straight. Let's have a little look at that when we can. But Leclerc up into the podium places for now. Piastri sets the fastest lap of the race. DRS is now enabled. And Norris is within DRS range. It's not over yet. Norris is within DRS range of Piastri. So Norris is going to get the DRS between turn 9 and turn 10 if it stays as it is. Leclerc is third, and Leclerc has disappeared away from Verstappen. Verstappen, I think, has been able to get those hards up to temperature finally because he's been able to escape away a touch from George Russell. Let's have a little look. Oh, it's because Verstappen is all out of shape. No. I don't know what. Oh, and then there is a touch. There is a touch between the two. But Verstappen at turn 14 gets all out of shape, wiggles the rear end of the car. Incredible save from Max Verstappen to still be in this Grand Prix. Could have easily sent that Red Bull into the barriers. Charles Leclerc then peels to the right-hand side. Oh, and there is a touch. There is a touch between Leclerc and Verstappen. And that then opens the door to Russell. Russell then comes up the inside. There might have even been a touch between Russell and Verstappen. Verstappen takes the escape road. And there's going to be some discussions there between Leclerc, Verstappen, and Russell after this race. Keeping in touch with Lando Norris. Lando Norris has dropped outside of DRS range of Oscar Piastri. So the McLaren 1-2 does look safe for now. Thank goodness for that. But Lando Norris 1.2 seconds behind. That seems fine. Leclerc, 4.5 seconds adrift of the top two. Verstappen then getting to within DRS range now of Leclerc. Verstappen still hasn't given up on this. And Gabriel Bortoleto is having a look at Liam Lawson. That is the final point scoring position. Hülkenberg, Hadjar and Gasly have been able to disappear away from that group. But Bortoleto, his first championship point is on the line. He's underneath the rear wing of Liam Lawson, but Fernando Alonso is right there as well. And Fernando Alonso isn't going to give up either. The Spaniard at his home Grand Prix looks up the inside of Gabriel Bortoleto, but doesn't get the move done. Bortoleto's got to be careful here because he had a look at Lawson, tried to make that overtake, but then also nearly opened the door to Fernando Alonso behind. DRS is going to be wide open for Bortoleto. It's going to be tight between them for the final point scoring place. As much as I would love Fernando Alonso to get his first point of the season, I think Bortoleto's first point of his Formula One career is a little bit more exciting, isn't it? Come on, Bortoleto down on Liam Lawson. Let's see it. DRS open for Bortoleto. Down towards turn 1 they go. Is Bortoleto going to make the move on Lawson this time? I think he's had a little look. But Lawson able to just about close the door. He's got to worry about Fernando Alonso behind as well. Oh, it is very tight for 10th place. Max Verstappen on the radio still absolutely livid. Oh, and Verstappen. Oh, and there's a touch. Oh my goodness, Verstappen was told to give the place back to George Russell. George Russell then thought he could get that place back, and then Verstappen bounces into the side of him. This might be Verstappen losing his head here, and this might be Verstappen throwing away crucial championship points because he has absolutely lost it inside of that Red Bull by the looks of things. And George Russell on the radio also complaining about it. That was very, very naughty from Max Verstappen. And I think Verstappen does eventually give Russell the place. And yes, around turn 13 does. That was not good from Max Verstappen. If Verstappen now gets a penalty, he could fall all the way down to, well, Liam Lawson. Nico Hülkenberg is having a look at Hamilton. Hülkenberg's going to make a move on Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 1. Oh my goodness me. And Fernando Alonso has been able to get past Bortoleto and now Lawson. Fernando Alonso's up into the points. Oh my God, it's all happening. Hulkenberg's up into 6th place, and Fernando Alonso, in his home Grand Prix, is up into 10th. George Russell. Oh my God, and Russell was right alongside Verstappen. Verstappen just hits into him. That is insane from Verstappen. He just speeds up and then smashes into the side of Russell. And I think Verstappen is going to get a hefty penalty for that. Verstappen might end up with 0 points here. I think Verstappen might end up, what would it be, a 10-second penalty? If he drops 10, he dropped behind Fernando. And possibly even Lawson. And Russell's got damage. So Russell has now got damage on his car because of that collision with Max Verstappen. Verstappen drops down to 5th. This was the worry from Verstappen going onto the hard tyre, remember? And George Russell is losing bits of bodywork. Verstappen's then got DRS down onto him. Hulkenberg has got ahead of Hamilton. I don't know what's gone on with Hamilton's car, but Hamilton now looks like a sitting duck as Hadjar has a little look at Lewis Hamilton as well. Max Verstappen's lost his head. We're on the final lap of the Grand Prix, but there's still some places to be won and lost here. Piastri and Norris seem to be fairly comfortable. Leclerc is 3rd. Yeah, should be okay. Verstappen is going to have DRS down towards turn 10 on George Russell here. And Russell is struggling. There is some damage to that Mercedes car that is causing him a little bit of a headache. Is George Russell going to keep that position ahead of Verstappen? Yes, it seems so. Hulkenberg is ahead of Hamilton. Hadjar even has a little look at Hamilton as well. Hamilton now running in 7th. Hulkenberg is going to finish in 6th place here. Hadjar is going to finish in 8th. Gasly in 9th. And Fernando Alonso is going to be our final point scoring finisher as it stands. But my goodness me, what an end to the Grand Prix we had there. I can't even believe it. It was chaos. It was ridiculousness. It was everything. Verstappen completely lost his head there, finishes the race 5th. I think there might be a penalty incoming for Max Verstappen. Piastri wins the Grand Prix, though. Let's have a little look at the championship before we leave. Because it is going to be Piastri, another 25 points, takes him to 186. Just getting it up for myself. I know you guys can see it. 186. So he gets a 10-point lead now on Lando Norris. Verstappen, with only those 10 points, now drops to 30 of Lando Norris, let alone the lead of the championship. 40 points adrift now of Piastri. And Verstappen needed those points. They were crucial to him. And even those 10 points might now go. Russell gains 12 up to 111. Leclerc stays where he is in the championship. Nico Hulkenberg, though, is the big winner in all of this, with Antonelli, Albon dropping. Oh, 10-second time penalty for Verstappen. It's confirmed there and then. I even called that. Should I just be the race director? 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen. So that drops him down to 10th place and reshuffles the points live there for you. Piastri stays where he is, but Verstappen only gains 1 solitary point from the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. So he is only on 137. Looking at that, though, Isaac Hadjar then gains because he now gets 6 points. Hadjar moves up into 9th place, 21 points for the Frenchman. So he goes up into 9th place in the championship standings. Half the points of Alex Albon. Just goes to show Alex Albon has had a sublime season so far. Nico Hulkenberg jumps 10 points. 10 points and 4 positions up to 16 points for the season, Nico Hulkenberg, and 11th in the championship. The championship there is missing 12th place, which is Lance Stroll. He's still ahead of Carlos Sainz. Gasly gets 4 points on the board to move within a point of Carlos Sainz. Fernando Alonso gets 2 points on the board after 0, so he gets a couple of points and actually gets on the board for the championship. But the big winner, Kick Sauber, up to 2 positions in the Constructors' Championship, and Racing Bulls also up to 6th place. No, wait, Mercedes will drop because Antonelli's not in the points. Ferrari are up into 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari, second place in the Constructors' Championship after 9 races. I would have not put them there after the start of the season that they've had. 12 points to Mercedes after Antonelli drops out, and the solitary point for Red Bull after Yuki Tsunoda still finishes outside of the points, by the way, is looking pretty tragic if you're a Red Bull fan at that point at the end of that Grand Prix. 10-second penalty for Verstappen. Wow. Wow. Goodness gracious me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there and have a little chat about. I don't know if you wanted more to talk about. This post-race show is going to have some content, don't you worry. So if you remember, head over to the members-only stream for the post-race show, which will be starting in, say, 5 minutes' time. I've just got to stop this stream and get that stream going. If you're not a member, join, because we're going to be delving into all of it. Piastri leads the championship by 10 points. Verstappen drops down to 10th. And Fernando Alonso gets his first points of the season at his home Grand Prix. Goodness gracious me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It has been incredible, this triple header. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time for the Canadian Grand Prix, round 10 of the 2025 Formula One season. Thank you so much again, and I will see you in a minute if you remember, or in a couple of weeks if you are not.